right? Everybody should have at least like 3 pages, 3 papers. Good. Okay, so okay. All right, just listen. All right, so we are going to, this is the AKS for today. We're going to analyze the continuity and change in Africa, explain how the European partitioning across Africa contributed to the conflict of civil war and artificial political boundaries in Africa and today. So everybody knows what is the European partitioning, right? Everybody knows what that means?
Yes.
What is it? You know what European partitioning means? And it says European partitioning. You know what the word partitioning means? Anybody in the back knows what partitioning means? What is it? Dividing. Partitioning is when you take something apart, right? You divide it, you split it. Okay. Now it's important for you to keep this in mind because some of those words, when you take a test, they're gonna show up. So you better know what they mean, the definition. Because if not, you're gonna have some difficulty there when you're taking an exam. Remember that everything that we learn here will be part of the test. You know, so everything that I teach you here will be some of the questions, some of the words are gonna be there. So we're gonna look quickly at this pictures. And it says, okay, so we have certain things here, the pictures. You see candy, a Nintendo Switch, mechanical pencils. So, is it okay to take something? Is it okay? Is it okay to take something that is not yours? No.
No.
So if you see that, what do you think that if you have one of those things, what do you think a person may be more triggered to take from you? Is there anything there that you think somebody may be interested in taking from you? The what? The Switch? Why is that? Yes, because it's expensive and you have games in it. Yeah, anything else on the computer too? The computer also. Let me turn this light off. Can you turn the lights off? And do you mind closing, putting something in there? Just close the light. Alright, sorry. Okay, so we're going. So, like you said, everything here is in, things that people, they may be interested. So again, there are some expensive things in those pictures, right? So people, if you need something around people, or the bad people may be interested in taking things that belong to them. And it happens a lot, even in the school, everywhere. So like he said, in computers, one thing that people may be interested in taking it because it's expensive. The mechanical pencils, sometimes kids take that, right? What about the tacky? You think somebody will be interested in stealing the tacky? Why is that? Why do you think they want to steal it?
For food.
Because it's good and it's just food.
Because it's good as food, okay. And you said the Nintendo Switch, okay. What about the chocolates? Chocolates? No. No? Okay. So. Okay, so. Alright, so again, we're gonna go over this. We're gonna analyze, and you know what the word analyze is, right? We're gonna think and figure it out. The continuity change in Africa. What is changing? As you know, Africa is changing. Everything after the partitioning, there's been changes in Africa. So we're gonna explain how the European partitioning, the division of the Europeans when they went there across Africa, contributed to the conflict, civil war, and artificial political boundaries in Africa today. Okay? So just focus and think about it. That how is it that is contributing, continues to the conflict still goes on, and how it affected the country, right? So your learning target, what you need to learn, what I expect you guys to learn is, I can explain how European partitioning of Africa contributed to conflict of civil war and artificial boundaries in Africa today. So Nico, can you explain it? Can you explain to me what is the meaning of the target? What do you think is about? What is it that we're looking for you guys to know?
Like how
we can explain European partitioning in Africa contributed to a conflict and civil war and artificial political boundaries in Africa today.
Yeah, but that's what, would you have an idea exactly what is it that we're looking for in that, in there?
What we're looking for is how European partitioning had an effect on the conflict and the civil war.
Good. All right, so in front of you, you have 3 papers, right? And we're gonna go and take a look at the first one, the one that has questions on it and there's a picture in it. You see it? Okay, I don't know if you remember in the past that, okay, so you remember in the back when we talk about the Ottoman Empire? Remember? The Ottoman Empire, that was the first one to take over until they were taken down. The foreign countries gained control of the region, now in the Middle East and partitioning the land. So we discussed the Middle East and partitioning it. Teaching, okay, so we're going to do the same thing similar that we did before in the other lessons that we discussed partitioning. Okay, so there is something that I want you to think. Okay, just put this in your think about it. So as you see, the learning target, we talk about, is going to explain how the European partition in Africa contributed to conflict. So when the Europeans went there, and they're partitioning and they divided the land, there was conflict. There was a lot of conflict among everybody that lived there and even around the Europeans, right? So we're going to see, anybody knows what artificial, the word artificial means? What is artificial? Okay, so I want you to look at this, take this paper, and I want you to look at the picture. Okay? Look at the picture here. You have the paper. You want to look at the picture, this one. Do you have this paper? This one? Yes. I want you to look at the picture in the bottom and analyze that picture. Can you see it? Okay, so there's a group of people around something and they're doing something. So we're gonna see, what do you think, what's happening there? I'm gonna give you a few minutes to think, analyze the picture, okay? Okay, so let's see. Everybody see, what do you guys see in this picture? Okay, so when I think about artificial boundaries, I think about something that is fake, right? It's not real. When they say boundaries, artificial, it's an imagination, okay? So what I see here, I see on the map, I see like a line. There's like a line there in the middle, okay? So, I need another word that I need you to keep in mind is the word foreign. Foreign. And anybody knows when they say is a foreigner, a foreign, what is that? From a foreign country, what is it?
So from a different country that's new to the new country?
Yeah, so there's people from other countries that come to another country, they move to another country, okay? So it's like foreign refers to another country other than your own. So in this case, Europeans are foreigners. The European people were not from Africa. They came from Europe there. So they are foreigners, okay? So what else do you see in the picture? Besides a group of men in a circle. That looks like a map. What map do you think that is?
The map of Africa?
The map of Africa. So what do you think all those people are trying to do, or they do in the picture?
They're trying to take land from Africa.
So how would you describe that? We use that word a lot.
Partitioning.
Yes, division, partitioning. So there's a group of people that are partitioning. They're all trying to pull and take a part of Africa, okay? All right, so before we complete, and, you see the paper that you have, there are some here, the one next to the reading. Before we start reading this, you gotta go and read the questions here. So I'm gonna, I want Nico to read number 1, and then you'll answer if it's true or false, without even reading, the article. So he said, okay, number 1, what does it say, Nico?
Foreign countries were interested in Africa's valuable natural resources.
Okay, so you're not gonna say the answer, you're gonna tell me if that was true or it's false. You're gonna put T or F. Okay, that's, Madison, read number 2.
So Europeans decided how to participate the continent.
Okay, so is that true or false? Okay, and number 3 for March, can you read number 3?
Remember the question?
Yes. Okay, for number 3, let's move on to the
The
reading.
partition of Africa lead to economic trade and civil war.
Okay, so you gotta answer that on your own, if it's true or false. Jeremiah, read number 5. Yeah, number 5.
National business began the Africans and helped them get the independence.
Okay, so you again, you're gonna say if it's true or false. And we're gonna have Micaiah, read number 6. Read number 6 on this paper. Cassius, could you help her? Can you read number 6?
Africans was prepared to self-govern once they gained their independence.
Okay, so it's true or false? All right, let's see, come on, Louis, read number 7 for me, please.
African boundaries were during the 19th century continued to negatively impact countries.
Okay, so, I'm gonna ask you some questions that you have to annotate, okay? So as you read the article, we all gonna read it together, so we can find out if this is true or false. Then once we're finished, this is something that you are going to do together, so let's see. So, all right, so here we go. Ready question. So let's see who got true or false for number 1.
I got true.
Okay, it's true? Okay, so what makes you think that one is true? How do you know that was true?
Because the countries was really destroyed Africa after the second because they had more than them.
Does everybody agrees with her?
Yeah.
Everybody has a different answer?
No.
Okay, so let's go to number 2. Nico. What do you think? What was your answer for that?
Number 2?
Yeah, what was the answer? Is it true or false?
Yeah, false.
Okay, so he said it's false. what do you think? What makes you think that is true? Where do you got that information, or how do you know for a fact? Because the question is, Africans help Europeans decide how to partition the continent. And you say it's false, right? Anybody else have a different answer? Anybody else true? Okay, so it is false, because as you know, do you think the Africans were gonna be helping them to divide and take the land? No, they're not gonna do that. They consider them their enemies, right? Okay, so, number 3. Number 3 is true? The partition of Africa led to ethnic and tribal conflict and civil war. Okay, can you tell me a little bit about that? What kind of conflict? Excellent. Okay, so number 4, Africans accepted how they were treated during European colonial rule. Is that true or false? Number 4. Hold on, let me ask, Aya. What is number 4? Is the answer is true or false? So it says, number 4 question is, Africans accepted how they were treated during European colonial rule. I'm just saying, is it a true or is it false? Do you think the Africans accepted the way they were treated?
We didn't.
Were you paying attention?
Yeah.
Why are you not paying attention? You're not paying attention because if you were, you'll be able to answer.
You said.
So the question is, Africans accepted how they were treated during European colonial rule. Did the Africans accepted their life? Did the Africans accepted the way they were treated and how the country was changed? No. Okay, so let's go to number 5. Nationalism united Africans and helped them gain their independence. It's true. So what is nationalism? Anybody know what the word nationalism means?
Fight for another one's country.
Yes. A pride for their own country, the loyalty, devotion. Okay, because this is my country, right? And they love it and they want it back. Okay, so artificial boundaries created during the 19th century continue to negatively impact Africa today. Is it true? Is the boundaries created, is it still continuing negative impacted in what way? I'm trying to think about it. What do you remember in what way? Or you can give me some thing about what you think is anybody? Anybody?
What?
Okay, so, alright, now we're gonna go and read. We're gonna read the article. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs. I want Madison to read the first paragraph, and we're going to find out if those questions that you have true, false, are real. And then we're going to underline where the answers are. Make sure you put the name on the paper because I'm going to collect it. Alright, so some of the questions are here. So European held conflict with other European countries what wanted the same thing. So let's see. Through, go ahead, start reading to through, and you're gonna end up at that says, themselves, the word themselves. Okay, go ahead.
Through the opening of the slave trade, European countries recognized the vast wealth of natural resources in Africa. The resulting competition between European became known as the Scramble for Africa. The Barbarian conquest of the 19th century was a meeting in which European powers divided the continent of Africa among themselves. At the conference, 14 European nations met with no African representations to participate. The continent without constant ethnic or cultural borders that already exist in Africa. The European created artificial cargo boundaries of their own that will bring together rival tribes and split up ethnic groups that have been unified before. The boundaries were drawn with the desire of profit of Africa's riches. There was no respect for Africa's natural boundaries and survival. Therefore, true conflict and civil war soon took place, and Africa once Europe knew boundaries were put in place.
Alright, Nico, can you continue the other one?
Throughout colonization, many Europeans treated Native Africans cruelly and tried to impose or force their way to a life on them, paying no attention to African customs and beliefs. As decades of political unrest followed, modern African nations had difficulty establishing government. Nationalism and the desire for freedom, foreign rules, wellowed across Africa. African nations began to win their independence, rather peacefully or violently. However, once African countries gained independence, few of them were prepared to self-govern. With little experience governing or solving conflicts between ethnic or political groups, many governments use military force as a way to solve problems. Conflict overwhelmed many of the new governments and remains an ongoing problem in several African nations today.
Okay, so as we read this, were you able to see some of the answers for those questions that verify that it's true? For example, here, the foreign countries were interested in Africa valuable natural resources. Is it there in the reading? Did you saw it when we were reading? Did you found it? You saw that. Okay, so that was true, right? So the second one, African helped Europeans decide how to partition the continent. Did you saw that in the reading? Did anybody when they were reading found that? Did they mention anything like that in the reading? No, right? I didn't see that. They didn't help them. Okay, so the other question was the partition of Africa led to ethnic and tribal conflict and civil war. That was in the reading too, right? You saw it in the reading as you were reading? Okay. And then, so all the other ones that were there, were you able to see and recognize them? So for example here, there's one that says, the Europeans created artificial boundaries on their own that will bring together rival tribes and split up ethnic groups that had been unified before. So think about it. If you were there, let's just imagine. Just imagine. Just imagine yourself. Let's say that we are from Africa. We are from there, right? We live in Africa, but we have like, we from different tribes, right? We from one tribe. So even though we're from Africa, we have different ethnic groups and we have different languages. So how would you feel if all of a sudden all these people come in there to this country and they start partitioning, but they don't care about you guys, they don't care about us, and they start out also, when they started dividing the land, the places, they actually started splitting the people too, because they started sending people to other parts, right? And they were mixing them together. Was that a good thing when they did that? Do you remember that was a good thing, or that created conflicts too? Was that did that create another conflict? Do you remember that? Did that was part of the conflict? So what is a conflict?
A war with two people, like a.
Okay, I need somebody to give me explain to me what is a conflict, okay? And how does a conflict start? And what are what is the consequences of conflict?
A conflict is a disagreement between people or tribes.
Okay, anybody else?
Fight.
What? A fight, that's also true. What else?
Like a war?
A war, oh yes, when there's a conflict, good thing there, good point. When there's a conflict there, that will create, a war. So, there was a lot of things that happened during that partition. It wasn't easy, and it was not fun. There was a lot of things that were involved there, and there was a lot of things that the European people, went through also. There was, they also had, not only the people that were there have difficulties, but they also have encountered some, difficulties also to get what they wanted, okay? So now we are going to, go over this other questions here. So I need you to pay careful attention, because we did all these readings here, we did the reading, and like I said, information is here. You already have knowledge, from the other classes that we did on partitioning, and from the reviews that we had, okay? So, I want, to mention to you, the importance that you have to know this, so when you take your test, you know, you're already ahead of the game and you understand, what the topic is about, because some of these things, again, they're gonna be showing up in your test, okay? So, we're gonna go over this. Then there is something here, I don't think I have my reading glass on here. Alright, so if you can see this, the first question has been already filled for you. And in the top, it says somebody, and it says European countries and the Africans, okay? So there are some questions here that we have to answer, but we cannot just answer them simple. You have to think about it, and I want details, and I want you to explain to me exactly what you mean, all right? So I'm gonna walk around to make sure that you're on the same page. I'm gonna have to work with you and help you, because I need you to catch up and understand. Do you understand what you need to do? Do you understand what we're doing? Not really? All right, so I'm going to explain to you what exactly, and anybody else who does not understand, still needs some help. We're doing this one, we're doing the other one, we're doing this one. Just hold into that, Okay, let's see, are you reading the same boat? Are we in the same page? Alright, so we're gonna be doing the other one. You don't have the, you should have, maybe I gave you 3 papers. So, okay, so hold on. Those of you who don't have it, we're gonna work it together, listen up. Okay, so let's go first with this one. So, we already know what apathy means, right? That is to divide and to separate. We already discussed what conflict is, right? You already know what a conflict is? And we already know what artificial boundaries is. Anybody knows exactly what artificial boundaries? So if you were to see these words and you take a test, and some of these questions, some of these words showed up in the test. Imagine all these tests are usually multiple choice, but there has to be reading in it. You gotta read the whole sentence before you can, answer. All right, it's the only way. So some of these things that you need to know, some of the, words, some of these are gonna be there. So the Berlin Conference, what was the Berlin Conference and what was the purpose of it? Cassius, what was the Berlin Conference and what was the purpose? Just think of, we discussed that before. That was something that we did before. So there was a conference, a group of people, they had a meeting. What was the purpose for? Do you remember what was the Berlin Conference for? Hmm? Yeah, what was the Berlin Conference that they had? The Europeans had a meeting, remember? And it was called the Berlin Conference. What was that for? What? Yes, yes, to do the partition, okay. Was any of the Africans invited? Were they there?
No.
Why do you think they didn't invite them?
Because they think that they were in the stop here from separating giving them material.
Okay, well, anything else? What do you think they did not invite them? Amash, why do you think they were not invited? The African people were not invited to the meeting, to the European partition.
The European countries didn't care about Africa.
Exactly, they did not care about them. Okay, they did not, remember we talked about this? That they didn't care about their ethnic groups, their religion, nothing. For them, they didn't exist. They just split them, around, okay? So, we gotta go now, I'm gonna ask you these questions here. And you're gonna write down the answer, and then you're gonna share it with me. So let me go here, to have light, and I can see this.
You went over here.
Okay, here we go. So, in the first one, it says, the somebody category has already been completed. So, means the somebody are the European and the Africans. So, we're gonna go in the wanted. So, category record, what each country, group, person hoped to achieve during the conflict. What did they want? So, I need you to tell me what in the box, what did they want? They wanted more than one thing. There was a lot of stuff that the Africa had, or has, that they wanted. So you're gonna list there, some of the things that you think the Europeans were there and that they wanted. Then you're gonna tell me, but, what happened? What did they encounter? Remember, somebody said conflict. So you're gonna think about what happened, what was some of the conflict, but what happened to them? And then what was the outcome? So as we read, you're gonna tell me, like a detail, cause and effect. What did they wanted, what did the Europeans wanted, but what happened during what they wanted, and what was the outcome to it? Makai, are you doing this? Okay, let me see. All right, what is it that you don't understand? Okay, so, you don't understand? Talk this is too long. How are we doing? We doing okay so far? You understand what you need to do? I know that you guys can do this. You're very smart. We went through this already. A lot of you are very good. A lot of you are answering correctly. A lot of you understand the lesson. But what I want from you is to, yeah, we're doing this one. The box we see. Yes, that's the one we're doing. Just remember, you gotta think about it, because we discussed already, we went through this already. What was it that they wanted? What is it that they wanted? What were they looking for? They were looking for more one thing. Don't be saying resources. There's more than that. What are the resources? You said they wanted resources, right? Natural resources. So what were the natural resources? What is it that's there that they wanted so bad? And why they wanted it? okay? All right, so let's go here, let me help, all right, so this is what you need to do. You gotta go right here. Make sure you pick names on the people. We did this already, we went through this already. All that you needed to do when you were reading is to put true, false. If you think that this question here is true or false before you read this, then the answers are here. So then you confirm, you verify that these questions are correct by reading them and underlining the answer here. Okay, now this one right here is this. So the European people were the ones, right, that went in to take over Africa, right, and divide the country, take parts of it, but they were different. Do you think it was one person from country from European? No, there's a group of people. So there were a lot of people that went there, and they wanted to take a part. So they all had a splitting. Okay, you take this part, I take that part, and that is the purpose of the meeting that they have, to see and decide who takes what. So you're gonna tell me, what was it that the European wanted? Why did they went there? What is it that they were looking for? Then what happened? They went through some stuff, but what happened? And then so at the end. Same as Africans. What did the Africans wanted? But what happened? And so. Okay, so it's a matter of thinking. What comes first, second, and third. All right? And some of these answers are in this reading. All right? You understand? Okay. You need help? Okay, now what I want you to do is, I want you to together, you're gonna help each other. Isaac, Madison, I need you to help, you're gonna work with him to help him out because he needs some help. You're gonna work with him and you're gonna work together as a little group just to make sure that you answer the answers correctly, okay? Don't be writing anything that is silly, that doesn't make sense, because you already know this, okay? I want you to at least give me, some information that I know that you understand this. Like I said, you're gonna be taking an exam, and I'm gonna give you a quiz probably next week on all of these 3 lessons. And it's gonna be, I don't know how many questions. So some of those questions that you do in your study are gonna be there, simple things. But when you read this, you're gonna be able to remember. So I wanna make sure that if you do not understand, you let me know so we can review again. All right, because after this, we're moving on. All right, so let's see. Done. Did you do yours? Where is it? Did you do this one? Alright, so you need to do this one too. Here. Hey, everybody has this? Yes. Go ahead. Like I said, you understand? So here, for example, the first one is done already, right? So here, you're going to tell me, the questions are right here. You see these questions right here? You're going to tell me and think. What was it that they wanted? Okay, and then what is it that the African people wanted?
But I didn't do this.
We're doing it again. Okay?
Same thing or just?
No, it's not the same thing. Good. Alright. Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna start asking you, some questions. Give you a couple more minutes. Why you have the computer open? I understand that, but I told you keep it closed. Distract you. The mess on the floor has to be clean. Hi Zach, how are we doing? Let me check and see if you're following this instructions. Alright. Just think. Just think about it. What is it? Just because we already discussed this, so you should already know. Even without reading this, you gotta tell me what was it the Europeans? So remember the group of people from Europe, right? They went there to Africa, right? And they wanted to divide it. They started dividing it, Africa, to take, and all started having, like, to make it their own property. But the people that were living there, they're already there. Just imagine yourself if you were in your country and strangers from other parts of the world come up and take over, and they displace you guys. They mix everybody together, and they don't care about anything about your religion. So you're gonna tell me, what was it that the European people were looking for? What was it that they wanted when they went to Africa? There was something that they wanted, and why do you think they wanted it? But then they went through some conflict, so you're gonna tell me what happened. And so what happened after it? There was a process of it, okay? Finished? All right, is everybody done? All right, so we're gonna go for another. Thank you so much. You're all doing so well, you're gonna be getting extra credit. Some of you are doing your work nicely, and I appreciate it.
Miss,
Yes. Okay, so. Okay, so we talked about, the scramble. The scramble for Africa. Let's help, Isaac now. Isaac, do you know what the word scramble for Africa? What was it, scramble for Africa? And when did it happen? The scramble for Africa. Can somebody help him with the answer?
Africa, it's like the European was making their natural researches and dividing the continent to have the land and the natural researches.
Yes, and they were actually, that's when they had the meeting. Okay, so. Let's, get this back, because I'm gonna ask you some of the, answers so you can share. Beatrice, how we doing? Well, I have Beatrice and Adriana. I always have Beatrice in my mind. Okay, Adriana, how you doing with your work? Do you understand? Are you doing good? Yes? No? Are you doing okay? You understand? You sure? Okay. Have you done it? Because I'm gonna ask you some questions just to make sure that you are together. So, can somebody tell me the first one that says, what was the first question? Okay, so European countries, can you share what is it that they wanted? Anybody can tell me what it, in your own words, what is it that they wanted?
European countries wanted Africa with natural resources.
Yes, good. They wanted Africa's natural resources. What was the resources? Okay, the natural resources. Well, what is natural resources? What was there for? What was it? What was the natural resources talking about? There was something, what do they have? Do you remember the things that they have? Do you remember anything of the resources that they have in there?
Like wood and
Yeah. They have like what?
Oil?
Diamonds,
diamonds.
coal, all those things that they wanted. Okay, were they able to get it? Did they got it? Were they went in there? Okay. Then what happened after that? When they got it, what happened?
They started dividing the Africans, the continent, so they have their own place.
Okay, they wanted that, but then something happened. There was a word that's on the board that we talked about, and it starts with a C. So what happened? What was something that started happening?
Conflict.
Conflict. And so what was the conflict? Anyone remember?
Argument or
Mhm. Okay, Nico, you have a different, answer for your own opinion?
For this one right here.
Mm-hmm.
Was resulting in competition between European powers to claim parts of Africa for themselves became known as for Africa.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you have another page. You should have a third page that looks like looks like this. Yes. Okay, so here we have one side of paper that says Kenya on its own, and there's another one that says Nigeria, a time for independence. So I'm going to ask you this question, and you're going to try to answer the best of your ability. Okay? I do not expect you all to remember some of the stuff, because we still have to learn some stuff for our next lessons. But I want you to take a look at when Kenya on its own. So after they have the how did they get free? Did they just give it back to them? No, they have to have like a war, there's conflicts, right? So, and then when they became independent. So let's see what happened to Nigeria. So this is a question. Why didn't foreigners enter Kenya until the 19th century? Why? You remember why they didn't go in before? Was somebody else in charge? Why do you think they didn't go into there before the 19th century?
Because the police were like getting all the
They were trying to get that independence, but it was for farming. They started getting violent.
Alright, so let's go to this other question. What was the result of the Kenya's violent rebellion? So remember rebellion. So remember the Kenyans, they got upset. They started fighting, they started uniting, when they started, thinking about, what was the word that we said, that a sense of pride?
Independence.
nationalism.
Yes. So what happened? Think about it. What was the result of Kenya's violent rebellion? People died, they became free.
They still were just free
Okay, so there was another question about why did native Kenyans start to fight back against the British colonizers? What did Britain give to Kenya several years after the rebellion in 1963? What was Nigeria like before Britain colonized it? What divisions existed in Nigeria during the nationalist struggle for independence? And what happened in Nigeria in 1960? And what did Nigeria suffer in years after independence? So in your own words, I want you to look, like I said, it does not have to be perfect. This is your own opinion. I just want to know how much you remember and how much you know. Then we will go over this tomorrow or Monday, and we will go over this when we go to the second lesson. We will go back on the second lesson. We will continue doing this, okay? But I want you to try to the best of your ability and try to remember, because we went through these readings, and there was a process of things that happened through all those readings that we've done. All right, so I want you to think about that. I'm gonna give you, actually, I'm gonna give you about maybe 5-7 minutes just to answer some. Just, if you cannot answer the whole thing, just come up and answer at least 2 or 3 boxes, of what you know. And then we will go again, we will start over. We will go over, when we go to the second lesson, we will go and continue with this one, and I will explain it to you. Okay? So just take a few minutes. has still some at least? I don't know. Okay, so now we're gonna go, I'm gonna ask you this final question, summarizing, okay? So we're gonna summarize the lesson, hold into it. We're going to summarize this lesson, okay? So you're gonna compare the similarities between the Middle East and Africa partition. So we discussed, remember, when we talked about the, what they went through, the African people, that, they were split, but also the Middle East. Can you, think, pair and share, think between, among you, see how much you remember about what happened, what was the similarities between when they split it in the Middle East, remember they started splitting, and then Africa partition, what was similar? There's a lot of things that were similar, but I'm trying to find out, what do you think was similar?
What's today?
Okay, do you remember, okay, I want you to, among yourself, try to remember, what was the similarities of the Middle East when we did first, we talked about partitioning before, remember? They were split also. I want you to, Middle East was also split, so I want you to remember, what do you think was similar? What do you think was similarities among them? Think, was it a good thing? Was it bad? Were there conflicts? Were they taken in consideration? Just think about it. Give you a few minutes to try to remember. Anybody can share? That you can remember?
That there was a lot of conflict
There were conflicts, what else?
and
There were the fighting too, were the fights? What about the people?
they would get hurt and some Africans try to get their independence back and then went on.
Okay, so I'm going to go over, the learning target that we did today. And it's, I can how European, you can explain how European partitioning, remember that, the European partition, the division, when the Europeans came, of Africa contributed to the conflict, civil war, and artificial political boundary. So, when they came in, when the, Europeans came in, it was not easy, right? They just came in, but they actually went through a lot to do that, because they had to go through to a civil war, there was wars and everything. So I want you to remember, we're going to review this, and we're going to go to the second lesson, and some of this will flow, that means it will follow. So some of this information is gonna go over to the second one, okay? So if there's anything that you do not understand, or that you missed from this lesson, or you were not able to answer, you will be able to in the second lesson, because it flows to the second and it goes to the third. So it's not like you're gonna say, oh, okay, I didn't get it. So we will go through this again, okay? All right, so this is just for today, and we'll continue